Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Can everybody hear me?
I can hear you, but there's a lot of feedback, echoes.
Sure. Thanks, RJ. I think we're working on that. Our apologies. We'll get this straightened out real quick. Check, check. Sorry, everyone. Just give us a quick minute. How do I sound, everybody?
Much better, Adam.
Much better?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How's that? Is the echo gone now?
It sounds it, or yes.
Okay. Okay. I think we got it. Sorry about that. We're just
Sounds good on my end.
perfect. Sorry. So Dale, I was asking if you're ready to get going.
Yeah, for sure. You bet. Let's go ahead and call our meeting to order. This is our quarterly November 18th, 2021 PACES meeting. Call to order. And Shelly, Adam, or Julia, either of you, if you guys wouldn't mind doing the housekeeping comments.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me start by taking roll. Is that okay? Josh Ziedler. I thought I saw
I'm here.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you, Josh. Jordana Carpenter.
I'm here.
Jordana, hi. How are you? RJ, I saw you come in. You still here?
I am here, sir. Thank you.
Excellent. Jackie Evans.
I'm here.
Hello. Good morning. Good afternoon. Tony Huma.
Present.
Awesome. Didn't see you come in. Thanks, Tony. Debbie Johnston. No Debbie Johnston. All right. Mickey. I don't think we were expecting Mickey. Mickey? Okay. Heather Miller.
Here.
Hi, Heather. Thank you. Chris Ramos told me he was going to be here. We don't have Chris, do we? Okay. Ann.
I'm here. It's good to see everybody.
Dale, I saw you. And Tony. Carazino. Tony Carazino, to be specific. No?
Tony Chiarzino's here. I said
got you.
here earlier, so I'm not sure if there's
sorry. Yeah, no, I got you. Thank you.
for Tony Huma.
All right. And I believe we have enough for quorum, correct? 7? Okay, perfect. All right. We can get going.
Okay, couple housekeeping comments. The meeting will be recorded and minutes recorded for future review. If you do use your mic, and I hope you do because we want an open discussion, announce who you are prior to you speaking so we can make sure we acknowledge all the right people. And I think the next thing, Adam, if you don't mind, we're going to go through the attendance report. A reminder to everybody, we do keep attendance. If you've missed 2 consecutive meetings, we will be asking if you would like to stay on the committee. The idea is to to continue to have a full quorum at all times. And Adam, if you don't mind scrolling through that one slowly for everybody to see.
I think it's just that one page. You should be able to see everything right there.
And this is a public meeting, so we encourage you to have anyone who has similar interest to always join us. That being said, we do have one vacancy as far as our standing members to the committee is concerned, and that's a position with a nurse, I would assume registered nurse, with emergency pediatric experience. Do we have anyone in attendance from the public who would be interested in that position? If you are, please reach out to Adam and let him know. And or if you have someone you would nominate to be able to fill that position, that'd be great. And Adam, if you could maybe show us the meeting schedule for 2022 so everybody has it.
Sure. Yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
There you go.
It was released with your packet, everybody. So if you didn't get it, holler out and we'll send it to you guys again so you guys get all this in your calendar. Meetings, meetings, and more meetings. Great. Thank you, Adam. The next thing on our agenda would be to discuss the Bureau reports. Chief Garcia, do we have Chief Garcia on the call?
We do.
Good afternoon, Dr. Woolridge. Can you hear me?
Yes, for sure.
All right. Well, I'll just share a few brief updates. The Bureau continues to focus on both rule and IT updates. We are working through the ground and air ambulance rules. The air ambulance rules are currently in the formal process, and a packet has gone over to the governor's office for approval. Once it receives approval, it can go to GERC next. On the ground ambulance side, that packet is currently in the informal stages. We're meeting on a monthly basis with a work group, and stakeholders are providing feedback on the process. We expect that we'll be able to post our next draft for review in January, and we'll encourage everybody to please check out our website for updates on the rulemaking process, and please submit your comments through the department's website. Concurrently with the rule updates, we're also taking a look at our IT system, including the EMS portal for certification. Our goal is to really take a good look at that portal and create a hub for folks to be able to go to gain access to important resources, tools, and other help items. We'll keep the community updated on our progress as we move through that project as well. We're taking a look also at the national organizations that we work with in terms of the waivers that they've provided during the COVID-19 response. NREMT, COAMS, and ACS have provided waivers, and there are a couple that are expiring at the end of this calendar year. So we'll be providing more information through GovDelivery to stakeholders to be able to keep updated on national organizational waivers. Additionally, I will share that we continue to monitor the COVID-19 trends here in the state of Arizona. We are seeing a large number of cases at this point in time, but we know that vaccines are making a difference. And because this is the PACES meeting, I'll share that most recently we've seen the FDA and CDC provide emergency authorization use approval for ages 5 and up to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. There have been tens of thousands of children that have been vaccinated in the state of Arizona to date, and we are seeing that the vaccine remains safe and effective against COVID-19, and encourage anyone over the age of 5 to consider vaccination at this point in time. I'm going to go ahead and introduce some new Bureau staff, some of which are in the room with us today. You all have heard Adam's voice, our new EMS for Children coordinator. He has a great background, and we're really fortunate that he's come to join us here at the Bureau, working on the EMS for Children program. We also have Marissa Salgado, our new base hospital manager, who's joining us via the web link. TJ McKay, our training program manager, who is out doing some program work today. And Cody Curl, our new EMS Workforce Initiatives coordinator, who's also in the room with us. She will be working on a new grant that the department has received focused on EMS workforce initiatives statewide. I'll go ahead and turn it back to Adam at this time, and thank you again, Adam.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Hello. So my neck of the woods, we are monitoring the NEDARC data survey for the 2022 EMS Children's Survey. That data entry closed on November 5th with good effort to make it as comprehensive as we could so we can get some good data back for that survey. Through December, they're going to be verifying it and cleaning that list up. And then come January, when they give me the green light, I'm going to go ahead and start promoting and pushing that survey out to all of our state's agencies that are on that contact list so we can have a look at our pediatric standpoint. And that's what I got, unless anybody has any questions on that NEDARC survey. Otherwise, I'll pass it over to Vatsal if she's on. I didn't see if she's on or not. That's all. You there? Okay.
I don't think she is on, but I will just share in the chat box a couple of links for the trauma and EMS reports if anyone is interested in reviewing those.
Thanks, Julia. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead, Adam. You got
I was just going to say, I think we're talking about the same thing. Chris Ramos, unless he popped in somewhere, we don't have him here for item 5, the updates, Education Committee updates.
Today's Education Committee was a productive committee meeting. If anyone in the group here is able to attend it, it's the meeting, 2 meetings before us. You guys are able to attend it 10:30 to noon, I think is the time frame. Please do. They're always looking for pediatric input in regards to the educational materials that they're assembling. Today we went through anaphylaxis, epinephrine dosing. Obviously the age spectrum was represented, so we had a chance to give input in regards to pediatric specific care for the education meetings. Meanwhile, a lot of our materials that we produce that are educational in nature ultimately funnel through the Education Committee. So again, another good reason for if you guys have time to be able to attend that meeting to do so. And Chris Ramos is our representative there, but I figured I'd give a quick plug in that regard. Adam, Julie, any other comments about the Education Committee?
I don't have any. Nope. I think we're good to go, sir.
So next item on the agenda, item 6, we're going to be discussing action items. First is to look at our PACES meetings from the last meeting, which was July 15th. Can I have a motion to review those?
This is Jordana. I motion to review.
Thank you. Second? Someone?
This is Ann Stafford. I second.
Thank you, Ann. All right, so we're going to go ahead and scroll through those quickly. Holler out if you want us to scroll back at any point. You should have gotten these in your packet. Are there any discussion items or amendments to these minutes? Hearing none, I would move that we approve them. May I have a motion for that?
This is Ann. I move to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Ann. Can I have a second?
This is Dieters, RJ. I Do a second.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Great. All right, so our next item, we're going to similarly discuss and amend our educational resource that we have developed regarding naloxone for pediatric patients. I think there's our slide set. This is the effort when we started this as far as a subcommittee group to work on this was to accompany the adult set anecdotally, and I think with some limited data, we're seeing more and more that the pre-hospital personnel are more reluctant to dose in pediatrics. So our efforts here was to try to expand the education in this regard. So we're going to go through these slides, and at any point shout out if you have any things you want to edit or change. I think we have some edits that we had dialogued in advance. Adam, do you want me to throw out the ones that I had suggested? Or
Absolutely, sure. Yeah, I'll take notes as you speak, but yeah, go ahead.
And I don't want to take the all the time here, so please, if you guys have input and suggestions, holler out also. My comment on this slide was that the third bullet is not truly an objective. There's not an action item. So my suggestion was to reword that and put review, and then infant and child resuscitation.
Exactly. Okay.
Processes, protocol. So add the word review.
Perfect. Yeah, I agree with you.
Should we edit those real time so someone gets a visual? Because we'll need to go back and essentially approve these when we're all done. I don't know. Do you have the capacity to do that, Adam?
I can't. I can't edit what we're looking at. It's a PDF, but I can go back right into the slides as we go on, and I'll get these in there for sure.
Okay. I will ask the members to just make note of the edits that we're doing, because we're going to want you guys to vote to approve or not approve the edits individual. So that was the one edit in the the objective slide.
Right.
Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you. Do you, quiet. I guess it's having too much quiet time when we're reviewing. Maybe I'll narrate a little bit.
Sure.
The real promotion is to emphasize the fact to give naloxone. You see all that in all caps. So the previous slide, ultimately admitting it's safe in pediatrics, and that we want to give it. And then next slide.
Yeah, that message occurs twice at your request. When we discussed what was the ultimate message, we took away that we wanted this message up front. So we put it up front, and then also to cap it off in the back, because we really want to push that point. Go ahead and administer Narcan if you're in doubt. I think this is the slide you had a little bit to talk about, Dale, in terms of was the paramedic correct in their primary or secondary impressions, and what figures that this graphic is showing, and it's from what's the name of the survey? I'm sorry, our state's EMS annual report. This is a figure out of our state's general annual report, not specific to pediatrics, but I plucked this out of it because it is. And I'm not quite sure how or are these numbers what the paramedic clicked in their PCR, or are these numbers that we're assigning them based on data that we're pulling from our side? That's kind of my answer to one of your critiques about these is what kind of data is this? Are we looking at?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I wanted to, so you hit it, Adam. That's what I wanted to clarify is specifically what the chart is referencing.
And that makes sense. When I look at it from your perspective, just at a face value, yeah, you would need that additional information. I agree.
Yeah. And what makes me second guess it the most is that, if you look at the 0 to 4 age group, it's, near 9%. And our scene calls on that age group, I'd be shocked if it was 9% opioid related.
Yeah, I agree with
So-
you. Okay.
So I'm wondering if it's the impression of the accuracy of the pre-hospital individual. I don't know if anyone is good at multitasking to be able to pull that. Maybe Julie, if you had that report, you could pull it because we're going to need to vote to either include this slide or not
Right.
today.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, we'll take a look at pulling that up really fast for us.
Okay, but let's go to the next slide while we're trying to pull up that reference material. This slide I liked. A good graphical illustration of the opioid problems that we're having across the age spectrum. And you can see it's kind of bimodal. It's the young and it's the older kids for different reasons, right? Either accidental or unintentional events versus intentional events based upon the age group. I think the take home here is it affects the kid, the young ones too. So even the kids have a problem with it. It's not just
Right.
the adolescents. So I like
right. The motivation for this slide was to get the pre-hospital provider thinking that when they're looking at a child of a certain age, that they can either increase or decrease their index of suspicion for a thing that for an event that's going on. So hopefully this slide gets in pre-hospital providers' heads that kids on the younger end of the spectrum, it's going to be unintentional, and kids on the older end of the spectrum is going to be intentional. In either case, being able to identify it's the important thing.
Yeah. Well, and the irony is, if you look at the number, you know, your y-axis, the number of poisonings, it's actually higher in the infants than it is in the adolescent.
That's wild.
So more kids are being affected by this. It may be more intuitive when it comes to the adolescent,
Right.
but the sheer numbers is what I found pretty shocking.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good slide to leave in there.
Yeah, and again, comments from the committee, please. There's any in opposition at least.
Sorry, real quick, Julia had just put on in the chat there the link to where this state's EMS snapshot is attached to. If you want some more context on that, but we'll take a second look at it. Okay. The motivation for this slide is kind of similar that we've been talking about, is that providers will get out there and not realize that it's possible for a pediatric to overdose on an opioid product. And so it's a pretty general statement, but I think it's straightforward. You have to remember that we need to include this differential in altered pediatrics for sure. And the same thing here. One of the challenges we had putting this together was considering the audience. Who is this going out to? And so we've tried to do a little bit of tailoring so that this can be presented from a LEO up to a paramedic and have it be effective across each of those echelons of care. And so some of the slides might be a little ultra basic, but it's built that way for a reason. We do a little bit of a distinguishing later in the slide set about who gives what dosages of Narcan. This graphic was left behind. Was snipped from the Narcan Leave Behind training. I thought it was just a good graphic. I plucked this slide as well from the Leave Behind because it's a good comprehensive slide that shows all of the different devices that pre-hospital providers are using to deliver Narcan depending on their certification level, from law enforcement officer, typically using the auto injectors, one and done type devices, up to paramedics using 100 mics per kilo with their equipment. So this illustration very much should capture all of the devices that providers are carrying out there.
Dale, are you referring to the second graph or the EMS incidents 1.
In the document that you just shared by chat,
It should be on page 10 at the very top. Yeah, page 10.
oh, I see. Oh, I see. It's a cropped version. I see.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Sorry about
Okay.
that.
No, that's okay. All right. Julia, do you have a moment? Did you can you tell me what they're trying to tell us with this figure?
So this particular page is talking about primary and secondary impression categories of interest. I think it was just, help me. Is it talking about opioids, like percentage of opioid calls? This is the breakdown of age for the opioid calls.
Okay.
Yeah, did you?
Dr.
Rachel's gonna
Woolridge?
chime in.
Dr. Woolridge, this is Rachel. I was able to find the report online. It is a copy of our 2020 Pediatric EMS Report. And if you take a look at the full version that I believe you're able to access now on page 10, it's a breakdown of all calls that include opioids as the primary or secondary impression categories. And so if you actually add up all of the percentages that you can see for opioid, they add up to 100%. And so for that age category of 0 to 4 that you had a question about, of calls that include opioids, 8.79% include children ages 0 to 4. Is that helpful?
It does. Yes, thank you very much. Is there a way of clarifying that in this slide? EMS opioid. So I'm just reading the header. Figure 12, 911 EMS incidents of opioid-related calls, percent distribution of impression.
Something that we might be able to do is perhaps we could overlay on top of the current title a descriptor that this is the breakdown of the age categories included in opioid calls in Arizona. We do see by this slide that the largest proportion of calls includes children ages 15 to 17.
Okay.
Okay.
So a clear title, and then at the bottom of the slide, we need to reference our source, so people can look it up and convince themselves. And then paraphrasing what you said, Rachel, opioid-related calls, distribution across the age groups.
Thank you, Dr. Woolridge.
Does people agree okay with that wording?
Yes. Yeah, I think that's actually, I'm sorry, one more time. What was exactly
Opioid-related calls, distribution across the age groups?
Mm-hmm.
I would consider pediatric age groups because this is specifically pediatric and not all comers.
Good. Very excellent point. Thank you.
Peds opioid-related calls, distribution by age.
Distribution across the pediatric age group.
And then Allison in the chat said, I would recommend snipping just the bar graph, cutting the other text, replace with clear titles, labels, context in text on the slide. Yeah.
And again, I'm sorry I'm belaboring this, but we're going to be voting on this, so everybody needs to be clear about what the final slide will look like. Because once we vote to approve, there's no amendments after that. So if someone wants to include the pie graph, we may have to actually wordsmith and or at least adequately demonstrate that for everybody. So Adam, you may have to show this pie graph, or Allison, if you're suggesting it, show us what this pie chart looks like so we know exactly what we're voting on. Okay.
So far, for at least the title, you want pediatric opioid related calls, distribution across pediatric age groups. I think that's
I don't think we have to say pediatric twice. So
okay. All right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Opioid related calls, distribution across pediatric age groups.
Yeah.
Sure. I think that's a good header for this.
Okay.
Oh, I think a pie graph would be useful. Yeah, absolutely. I don't see why not. I would have to create one for this, but I think I could do that. Okay. Anything else on slide 5? And a hyperlink. That's a good idea, Dr. Bradley. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I just pasted that. Yeah, there we go. That's the link to the source information.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to move on. All right. We looked at that one. We looked at that one. We looked at that one. And we left off here. Any comment on the dosing slide from anybody? Okay.
I think the slide is busy enough. I just, if you don't do a lot of pediatrics, you don't really appreciate how quickly a child can get to the adult dosing range. So a 20-kilo child, which is roughly a 4 to 6 year old, is going to hit the 2 milligram dosing level.
Right.
I mean, they get there so quick anyways, right? But I think the take home really is that it's safe, give it. And I think adding that just probably adds more clutter.
I think you're right. Okay.
Adam, do you by chance have that slide that I wanted to insert that we could show? I have it if I can share screen.
Oh, sure. Yeah, go ahead. If let me know if you can share screen. If not, I'll kind of race you to it here.
Okay.
Actually, I'm sorry, Dale. I don't. Oh. Okay.
Here, can you see my slides?
Yep.
All right. So this is the Google Doc or the Google presentation converted over. So sorry to belabor it, but this is the review comment that I wanted to add here, just so you guys all have a visual. Okay. We wordsmith this one. Okay. And if you guys need visuals, we can work through it because I want to make sure everybody's very clear with the voting. This is the slide that I wanted to add. And you can see it's inserted between this one. It steps to the new slide and then this one. So right here, I kind of wanted to put some teeth to the acknowledgement of the safety of Narcan. And this is a DHS publication of a drug review of the 4 milligram dosing regimen intranasally. Okay, and this is their statement and their conclusion. I think succinctly saying that if you're not a paramedic and actually decanting your exact volume, just go ahead and give it. And I'm paraphrasing here, but I'll give you guys a second to read that paragraph. And this is the source for the data, hypertext link. Okay. And that's the slide I wanted to share. So I'm going to stop presenting, give it back to you, Adam. Sorry about that.
No, that's perfect. Thank you for that. Let's get back to. All right. There was a little bit of discussion about whether or not we should keep this this special note. I don't see why not. Just as additional information.
Adam, my only thought I was using that is that if you think a child is having an overdose, I don't want them to not treat with the concern that they may have a seizure.
Oh.
Gail,
So that
I'm
would be
sorry.
my thought behind keeping, right, regarding deleting that note. It specifically stated, if you think it's an opioid overdose, give naloxone.
Okay. That's a good point. Absolutely.
Because this is such a specialized patient population where
Yeah.
you have kind of the absence syndrome. I just think it's higher risk to avoid.
I agree with you.
overdose.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Gail, I totally agree with you. The case incidence of precipitated seizure in abstinence-related scoring is case reported. This is a very rare subpopulation and a rare event within that subpopulation. So I agree. I think we're just going to confuse people.
Very good. Thank you. Okay.
So are you, Adam, to be clear to the group, are you deleting the whole slide or you just want to delete the one bullet?
Do you think it's important for people to understand that because I think if we don't make a mention of side effects at all, that may create more hesitancy, but rather than saying that one singular bullet point. It'd be kind of an empty slide, but it would drive home a point that I think give Narcan when in doubt. I don't know. What do you guys think?
To be honest with you, looking at the other slides, I think we've already kind of made our point.
I think so.
Let's see.
I guess we really wouldn't want, not that we wouldn't want, but law enforcement really doesn't worry about side effects of one of the two medications, which is, why they're carrying it. It's so very safe. Yeah.
Adam, if you don't mind, scroll to your next slide.
Oh, gotcha.
How about adding it right there? Second
yeah,
bullet.
I see what you mean. Okay, so so what you're saying is this first bullet point, side effects are rare, is moved onto this slide for its own bullet point, and this entire slide is removed.
Correct. Everybody,
Okay.
That clear to everybody?
Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I'll move the terminology side effects are rare onto this page and delete the previous.
Perfect.
Very good. Thank you. Okay. And then the natural course of progression when you're talking about a pediatric that is unresponsive is and Narcan's not working is the realization that you may need to provide some sort of resuscitation to this child. So the motivation for this slide. And I actually should we be using the terminology Narcan or Naloxone? Do we want to use Naloxone in these rather than
Naloxone on all points? Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Any critiques here? Okay. And you critique this one, and I agree with you. It's the generic algorithm for healthcare providers for pediatric resuscitation, but it's doesn't fit. If we could find a different, maybe a different orientation of this, where it'd be more friendly to a PowerPoint presentation, I still think it's useful, but not in the format.
Well, if the figure was higher resolution, the individual could zoom in on it a little bit, or let's put the hypertext link there so they can pull it up themselves.
Oh, very good. That's a good point.
And then with everything, we want to make sure we have permission to reproduce.
Perfect. Do you want to, with those corrections, is it okay if we keep this healthcare provider level algorithm for the paramedics then?
I'm speaking too much. I want someone else to say.
This is Gail. I think my recommendation would almost be for paramedic level. I think they should refer to the local guideline or protocols. So I think I would almost recommend that statement. It gets problematic when we go. So this is a very specific AHA algorithm, I don't think we would get rights to include it
Mhm.
or include a hyperlink to it. So, because those are copyrighted materials. But I think at the end of the day, once you're getting to the point of recommending resuscitation, if you have no equipment such as law enforcement, you're going to just have them do essentially compression only CPR. If you-
Right, and that was very much the motivation for this second slide. This because we had to consider the audiences from paramedics down to law enforcement. So this slide is more for the law enforcement side of that.
So I think maybe the slide above specify when you say healthcare provider, I think what we're talking about is really not the full spectrum of healthcare providers. This is specific to EMCTs. So I would say paramedics, refer to your guidelines / protocols for pediatric resuscitation. EMTs refer to your CPR training. That would be my recommendation
Okay.
for that slide.
And so ultimately, do you want to leave this slide? Do you think we should leave this healthcare provider technical slide in there for this training?
No, I don't think.
Okay. Right.
So if I could, this slide we're discussing omitting, but now Adam, go to the previous slide if you don't mind.
Okay.
Now,
Sorry.
as Gail is
Thank you,
saying,
Julia. I was not unmuted again. I would just delete, if you can go back to the healthcare provider slide. So take off the guideline that's listed completely. And instead of labeling it algorithm for healthcare providers, I would just specify resuscitation, maybe pre-hospital resuscitation as the title, and then paramedic -- refer to local protocols / guidelines, EMT refer to CPR training.
Okay.
Adam, I don't want to step on your toes, but do you mind if I share again?
Oh, please do. Yeah, of course. Here.
Let's see.
Go ahead.
Share. Let's see. Screen 1. Allow. Okay. Can you guys see my PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay. So this one, we're talking about replacing resuscitation, the word algorithm with resuscitation. How about if we get rid of this slide totally, this one, and then up here, add the verbiage that, I don't know if it was, I didn't see who was talking, but add the verbiage that you were saying onto this slide. You did?
Gail, that was me, Gail. Yeah, I think that would make sense because really what we're trying to get people to do is to start CPR. So I don't think it needs its own slides. I think that'd be a great place to put that.
Okay, would you mind stating the phrase again for me?
Sure, we have a very awkward audio setup here, so I'm taking headphones in and out of my ears and trying to remember to unmute myself. So it would say pre-hospital resuscitation, and then underneath that, paramedic -- refer to local protocols / guidelines. So I think before refer, it would say paramedic -- because they'll have different ones.
Paramedic?
Refer to local guidelines / protocols. And then next line, EMT -- refer to CPR certification. Unless someone has a better thought.
Or protocols?
So EMTs are a little tricky depending on the jurisdiction. If they are an EMT only agency, they may not have medical direction. So they may simply have their certifications. So that's why I was thinking CPR.
Okay. Okay. How about skill? Or is that, no?
Maybe training would be a better word. instead of certification. Refer to CPR training.
Okay. And this is kind of a separate section. Is that kind of what we're thinking? Adam,
I think so.
I'll email. Thank you, Gail. Adam, I'll email this to you.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. I will give it back to you.
Sure. Let's look at the last slide I have for this, and then we will move on. There we go. Which is motivated by the levels of training, more simplistic look at the event that would need resuscitation for law enforcement personnel, for EMTs. Just kind of some basic takeaways there. And you had mentioned that you want pediatric specific CPR, and that's that kind of motivation why I picked step 3, well, this image with step 3, and you see that there's a couple of different variations on the very, very small kid CPR versus a little bit bigger kid CPR. 2-thumb encircling technique, 2-finger technique, or palm of the hand for a little bit larger.
I like it. I think my only comment would be image source. Do we have permission, and should we cite it?
Perfect. Okay. I will look into that stuff.
Okay. And I'm sorry if I'm getting kind of caught in our protocol or our guidelines here, but we have to vote on approval of this today or shelf it for the next meeting. If it's something we have to look into, that might delay us another quarter. Or someone here help me with the process. Can we leave small items like that to refine later and still approve it today?
We're clarifying right now for you, Dale.
Thank you.
I think that, yes, we can approve it today if the group thinks that it's ready to go. We'll just approve it with amendments. And then it's just, since it's small items like the images that could be changed, I think it will be okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Just depends on the group, what the group thinks, if it's ready to be approved.
So my suggestion to the group is we are going to, if everybody's okay with that slide, we would approve it with the intent that our image is going to demonstrate the same knowledge, but it's going to be non-proprietary before we include it. So we'll make sure we have a non-proprietary image.
Yeah. Got it. Okay. Let's see.
Okay. With those edits in mind, and I hope everybody took notes and recalls all of our edits, I am going to now ask the group if we can have a motion to approve that slide set as an educational tool that will later go to the Education Committee following our minor edits for approval through the Education Committee in the next meeting cycle. Can I have someone make that motion?
This is RJ. I'll make the motion for that slide set, sir.
Okay. Are there any discussions or opposition to the edits that we have paraphrased and have done to that slide set? Then I would move to a vote. May I have someone motion that we vote to approve this item?
This is Ann. I motion.
Thank you, Ann. Can I have a second?
This is RJ. I'll second.
Thank you, sir. Then with that being said, everybody who votes to approve, say aye.
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 Is there anyone in opposition to say nay? Okay, acceptance of this educational tool module in the form of a slide set has been approved. Thank you guys very, very much. All right, so back to our agenda. The Pediatric Behavioral Health Work Group. Can I have a volunteer to make comments on someone who was attending of the last healthcare work group, make comments so we can bring that to discussion?
Sure. So the last behavioral health subgroup we met, it was one of the earlier meetings, and we were going to use the state's most recent reports to try and identify some information that would be useful for this work group. In developing this work group a little bit, we've put together some online resources through the collaborative folder that we created, and we found some. I think you and I put some good articles in there that are likely to be used as educational, that can be used as educational resources. And then in addition, we've kind of started to rough out a little bit of a similar deliverable, similar to the Narcan slides, behavioral health slides. This is not anywhere near as refined as the Narcan, but we have started to develop a couple of things just based on some personal experience a little bit out there that I know that providers don't have an awful lot of experience, pre-hospital providers don't have an awful lot of experience with, well, in handling behavioral emergencies. And so we kind of identified that as a gap and to be exploited a little bit. Haven't gotten too deep into it yet. And we have another meeting upcoming that should reveal a little bit more information about the direction of the group.
Adam, would you mind telling us when that, or actually, I guess we'll tell everybody later. So we encourage everybody to participate. It's been brainstorming. I don't have anything to add to Adam's report. It's been brainstorming. Everybody acknowledges that behavioral health care, not only pre-hospital, but in the hospital, has been a difficulty across the state and probably even across the nation. Where exactly we can, tackle to promote improved processing knowledge, we haven't really drilled down that well on it yet. Mm-hmm. So I think
the problem still exists of that the default location is the ED for pediatrics that are experiencing behavioral health emergencies. In the pre-hospital setting, we don't have an answer other than hopefully they can be de-escalated and I don't want to say refused in that context, but not it won't be necessary for them to go to hospital. But a lot of the times that is the answer. That's the one-stop shopping. And I think when we were talking to Sandy, she was mentioning that there is indeed an alternative, and I'm not sure. I mean, most medics in the field think that they have to go to an ED, and apparently I would like to explore the option or the possibility of paramedics transporting to, given a behavioral health emergency, a true behavioral health emergency, transporting to an appropriate facility. I don't know how often that's occurring yet, with medics not transporting to an ED and transporting to a mental health facility in its instead.
Yeah, and de-escalation in the field. I mean, as long as the pre-hospital personnel can establish safe referral, and they de-escalate, I mean, it can fall into that treat and refer context. The one benefit is that with minors, they always have, not always, but they more often have a guardian there that can aid in ensuring safety. So there's a little bit of flexibility in that regard. It's just so community dependent on what resources are.
Very much, yeah.
Gail,
so
you
overall,
came
we
up.
haven't gotten too much further.
Yes, I just wanted to kind of add on that. So EMS can take patients directly to behavioral health facilities, specifically pediatric patients as well.
Okay.
One of the issues that comes into play is kind of the availability of beds. When you get into a pediatric patient population, those bed availability numbers are much lower than the adult population. And then some facilities will take, certain age of minors. So they'll take the 15 and above, or they'll take 12 to 15 or 8 and under only. So there's a little bit more complexity as to which facility pediatric patients can go to, but they certainly do have the option currently in rule to transport patients directly to behavioral health.
Fantastic to know.
Sorry, Don asked in chat, do we have a list of pediatric facilities that could be option for transport? Sure, if there's an answer.
I don't know that ADHS has, the Bureau has a list of that. I'm sure there's a licensing department within the department that does. But I'm sure we could try to work on that.
Yeah,
sure. I think the awareness of that's pretty low. I don't think EMS providers are aware that in that situation that they don't have to go to an ED, which was the direct complaint from, I think it was Sandy Nygaard.
Yeah. So, go ahead,
sorry, Dale, with just one more statement. Law enforcement takes patients all the time directly to behavioral health facility without EMS even getting involved.
Really?
So they actually take a large number of EMS patients, triage patients directly to behavioral health facilities. And so that's with zero medical evaluation at all.
Interesting. Okay. Thank you. So perhaps there's something that could be done in terms of the awareness. It sounds like there's a little bit of a solution that maybe just a lot of transporting agencies don't know about. So maybe that would be something to look at.
Yeah, in our last committee meeting on this, we had kind of explored all these scenarios, and the thought was to make contact with someone at DHS who's involved with behavioral health, so we can get kind of a broader view of what resources are, if anything, as a tool to educate the community that they have alternatives. So I think that will hopefully be, and Adam, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think for the next meeting, we're going to even try to get someone from DHS to
behavioral side,
join us as a guest, so we could learn from that person. So we would encourage you guys
reach out.
Definitely, and when we get to the upcoming events, we'll shout out on when the next meeting is.
Perfect. We will see if we can identify somebody at DHS that can represent that.
Okay. Our next agenda item, we were wanting to explore the creation of a work group to revisit the training gap topics. And I think this is more of an issue of kind of brainstorming on future projects going forward. Where is the training gap, and what products can this committee work towards putting together to aid our colleagues in regards to pediatric care and pre-hospital environment. So we want to establish that work group. It's going to be a brainstorming session. Adam, I don't know if you want to add more to the descriptor there. Anything else that you had in mind in setting up in the committee?
Not specifically, no, sir.
Okay. And again, this is a think tank that will start helping us generate our future projects. So I would ask the committee to move to create that subcommittee, and that we would start establishing interim breakout meetings, kind of alternating around our PACES meetings. Any discussion in regards to that? I would ask the committee to put that to a vote. Can I have a motion to vote on creating that subcommittee? I'm sorry, work group.
This Jordana, I'll motion to start work group.
Thank you, Jordana. Second? Do I have a second?
This is Tony Kirzino. I'll second that.
Thank you, Tony. Great. Forgive me, I'm just so bad with this parliamentary stuff. I think we vote now, right? So
Is that right?
I would ask the committee to vote now that we're going to establish a work group revolving around identifying training gaps for future PACES projects. Everybody in favor say aye.
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 Great. Thank you. Thank you all. Anyone opposed to say nay? Great. Wonderful. The ayes have it, and we have a work group that we're going to establish, and Adam will communicate a Google, probably a doodle scheduling, if I had to guess.
Sure.
But we'll get that in the books. Thank you, Adam. Okay, and the next item on our agenda is we are looking for a vice chair. You get the honor of working with myself, Adam, Julia, Shelley, the whole gang as the vice chair. The candidate, you can self-nominate or you can suggest someone else. We want it to be from one of our regular committee members. Is anyone interested in that position and or would be willing to take on that role of vice chair?
Okay, so just a little extra information. The vice chair would take over chair duties if Dr. Woolridge for some reason could not be in attendance. So that's probably the primary role of the vice chair, in addition to just everything else that everyone else already participates in.
If I fall off a cliff, you won't miss me. Okay, crickets chirping. Should we, what's next? Should we shelf this? Should we let people mull it over and email Adam if you would be interested in it? We don't have everybody, I think, at full quorum, so there might be another individual if we can communicate that out by email, Adam. You might get someone who volunteers electronically to you. Would that be okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Okay, next item, this is a call to the group for agenda items to be considered for the next meeting. Each of our standing work groups will report at the next meeting. That is obviously standing components of our agenda. But if there's any others that you would like to add, please let Adam know well in advance so we can get those onto the agenda for our next meeting. And you can do that electronically. Next on our agenda item is a call to the public. Any announcements that anybody wants to make? It's the end of a long day of meetings, so I sympathize. I'm sorry. Going once, going twice. Okay, Adam, if you would mind, be so kind to tell us about the upcoming events.
Sure, we have a couple. AEMS's second annual Fall Forum. That's coming up in December. And then NAME's Pediatric Symposium is coming up late February, early March, and we'll see you if you're going. Any updates can be found on the Bureau's hyperlinks here. And it looks like the next meeting is in March.
Okay.
March 17th at 1:30.
Great. And I guess I guessed incorrectly. Do you know offhand, Adam, when our next behavioral health work group meeting is?
Not offhand, I'm sorry. I was looking it up and then I got...
Oh, that's all right. We can email it out to everybody.
Okay, yeah, I definitely will email. I don't know it off the top of my head. I'd have to...
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody's time and thank you so much for going through that slide deck with us.
Thank you.
and all the other input that we had from everybody. And meeting is adjourned. That was my gavel. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Dr.
Thank
Morgan.
you,
Thank you.
everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, RJ. Appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.